a bunch of people asking for my recipe lately, so here it is. You take, you got like mixed vegetables, like 2 or 3 pounds of mixed vegetables, and then you chop those up real fine. And then once you chop those up, you got to get them boiling. So get some water boiling. You sprinkle some salt, sprinkle some vinegar, maybe a tiny bit of sugar, just a tiny bit. You don't want a lot because then the vegetables will taste sweet. So then after you boil them for a little bit, you got to get out your oven. And when you get out your oven, you can turn your oven on. And when you turn your oven on, turn it on to about 7, like 500 or so, but 7 on the dial. And then you're going to want to bake those vegetables that you just boiled. So get them out, strain them through a cheesecloth or through a big bowl with holes if you got one. I have one. And then after you strain them, you're going to need to put them into a pan to bake, and you're going to need to pre-butter that pan. So take the butter, now you got your butter, take that butter, stick form, not liquid form or margarine. Margarine's gross. So take the stick form of butter, and you're going to take that stick and you're going to like wipe it around the inside of the pan, obviously, so that your vegetables can cook without getting stuck to the pan. Anyways, so get your vegetables going, and when your vegetables are baking at 7, you're going to need to get your raw chicken and raw goat. Both of those need to be fresh, not frozen. Mostly the goat. Anyways, the chicken and the goat, mix them up, chop them up, however you want to do that. You can use a food processor. You can use a blender. I have a friend who just uses like the side of his fork. Whatever works for you is going to work for you, but you got to get it chopped up. Now that you've got a liquefied meat of sorts, you're going to want to solidify that meat. And the best way to do that is going to be letting it either sit out in the sun like a sun tea, a sun meat, or you can cook it. And if you cook it, you're going to want to add more salt, because salt is pretty hard, and then that will make the meat hard. So you can add hard to make hard, salt meat, and then bake on top of the stove. Don't add any liquid. Bake it on top of the stove in that bucket you had earlier. Put that, it's should be a glass or metal bucket, and you can take that and you can put that on the stove, and you put the liquefied meat in there. Just smash it so that it's flat. And the real careful thing about the flat, squished, salted hard meat is that it's gonna fit the bucket, but you gotta cook it low and slow. You know, that's always right. Low and slow. That's cooking. You never do high and fast. Michael Phelps was high and fast. Anyways, you got to make sure that bucket is touching the top of the stove wholly. And if it's not going to cook right. And you're going to fuck up the whole thing, and your vegetables are going to get ruined. Don't do that. Cook it right. Bucket right on. And only like at a 1. Maybe a half of a 1. Maybe a 3/4 of a 1, maybe a 1/4 of a 1, maybe a 1/3 of a 1, maybe 2/3 of a 1, maybe 4/7 of a 1, but somewhere low and slow, because otherwise you're going to burn your meat. And if your hard salted meat is burned, then you got 4 things that are bad instead of just 3. All right, you got your hard meat and your soft vegetables now. You're doing great. You're going to need a spatula, and you're also going to need that hard side of the fork that I was talking about earlier, because that's really valuable for this next step. It's kind of like, you know, when you first see blackberries coming out of the ground, that's where you're going to want to start with your meat vegetable mash. That same motion that the earth uses to grow, you're going to use that motion to mix your vegetables and your meat. If you don't know what I'm saying, it's okay. You can just mix them with the normal like side of spoon, and that's going to be fine. It just won't taste quite the same as if you use the right growing motion. Also, you can't add enough salt. So get that meat, get that large container of salt that we all know you have, and then just start. You can even use the hole open end, not like the little tiny holes, but the big hole. You can just start. As far as ratios go, it could be about 1 meat to 2 vegetables to 4 salt. Now you're going to take that pressure cooker full of Velveeta, and you're going to melt that over the top of the vegetables, meat vegetables. It's mostly salt. You can feed this to your family or your friends or strangers or loved ones or hated ones. You can go, there's going to be a thing this weekend. Make it, feed it to people, see what they say. They're going to enjoy it, and you're going to enjoy it. It's great. Happy 4th of July.